What up everybody, Berzer3 here. Today I am going to just do a quick go over of my Wild Strike build. First off, I just wanted to do something fun. I always thought Wild Strike sounded kind of cool, so I thought, hey, let's try and make a build out of it, something a little strange, a little different. So I went with a triple Herald Elementalist Wild Strike build. So with that, let's hop right in and take a peek at what we're working with. Currently, I'm level 82, and by all means, this build is not optimized at all. Just something I decided to mess around with and see what I could make happen. I basically go for armor. I use the Formless Flame, which increases your armor by your total fire res uncapped. So right now my fire res is 137, puts me at about 7,000 some armor with about 40% damage reduction at this level. I went with a Condor's Undying Rage. That maul hits can't be evaded, which is a big thing. I didn't really want to go for Resolute Technique because I wanted to still be able to have those crits to get Elemental Overload to give just tons of extra elemental damage. So that's really extra awesome there. We also have, I just bought a Lore Weave. The maximum resistance on this one are only 76, but being an Elementalist, you get a lot of resistance from just taking damage from a resistance. It decreases the next damage of that element for a while and gives you increased elemental damage. So that's where the triple Herald Elementalist also comes in handy. So I just went for the high crit strike chance to get the onslaught effect from the Condor's Rage, as well as I went for the highest increased elemental damage I could find, which was 48 out of 50. So those rolls are not too bad. Boots went with Kaum's Roots. These are just a pair that I happened to get through divination cards, so you could get a better implicit corruption on them, but whatever, doesn't matter too much. Also, my Formless Flame has increased Cyclone damage, which is just something I managed to throw on there I didn't really want, but I decided to try and use Cyclone anyway with the 100 regen per moving and the increased Cyclone damage, so I just fool around with that when it's just quick mobs to move through. Anywho, leveling up, I decided to go with two Tempest, I'm not even going to say it anymore. Steel, whatever those are, War Swords. They have hits can't be evaded, which is really awesome. Increased lightning and fire damage, as well as penetrate elemental resistance. So I dual wielded those all the way up until I got to Ornament of the East. Another just mid-level claw. Hits can't be evaded. That carried me all the way up into the Condors, which you get at level 68 for the gems. I don't know what the base is on the item. I think it was somewhere around the mid-60s though. So it was not too bad to do. Belt is just kind of meh. It's a belt that I just crafted up, has cold and lightning. I'd prefer to have something fire res to increase my fire res, to increase my armor overall. But cold damage, lightning damage, not too bad since we are doing those elements. And Astra Menace. Using an Astra Menace, I picked up one with the highest explicit mod. No, unique mod, with the highest unique mod and a low implicit. And then I just use Blessed Orbs to get it up, so that actually wasn't too expensive either. Puts me, all my dex requirements pretty much come out of that, so I don't have to get any extra nodes on the passive tree. And a Thief's Torment, a little bit of resistances, the quantity is kind of fun to have, the reduced effects of curses is fun to have as well, but 50 life gain for each enemy hit by my attacks, as well as 30 mana. Using Wild Strike, you hit a buttload of enemies, so you get a bunch of life gained on hit and mana gained on hit. Friend of mine does a Molten Strike build. I've seen a lot of those with the Thief's Torment. You get tons of balls flying out, gives you a ton of life instantly. It's not like a leech where it comes over time. It's instant on hit. So that's really awesome. Let's look at the links. Wild Strike, I have Elemental Prolift because that gives more chance to freeze, shock, ignite, which gives you the triple Heralds have the effects for when you kill a frozen, a shocked, or ignite enemy. A elemental damage with attack support, so it just increased the elemental. I really went for Fortify because trying to get as much defensive as I can, because the single target on this is pretty bad, to be honest, but it clears mobs very well. So Fortify is great, and it increases melee physical damage, which Wild Strike converts all of your physical damage to whichever element it decides to hit. And yeah, so then we also went with Ruthless, so every third hit hits a lot harder. And I went with Ancestral Call just to help clear the waves and hit a lot more enemies in case I end up forced standstilling and I swing my axe and I'm just too far away. The Ancestral Call will swing and hit for me. In here we got the cast when damage taken with Immortal Call setup, level 1, just because I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to take it up a little higher. I think just the frequency of the lower level doesn't work out so bad with increased duration support. So it puts it at 0.66 seconds, so a little over half a second, not too bad. And I also put on there Assassin's Mark. Assassin's Mark was just because the power charges give you more critical chance. Right now, my crit chance is very, very low, 12%. And when I get the 3 power charges going, it goes up to like 18%. Really not too much, but you're not worried about critting. You're worried about getting the Elemental Overload, which increases all elemental damage by 40% for 8 seconds. So I pretty much always have that up with that Assassin's Mark. But you could try out, I was going to try out a Poacher's Mark, maybe get some Frenzy charges to get a little bit more attack speed. I didn't go with Multi-Strike because of the, you get like animation locked when you do Multi-Strike, so you end up attacking 3 times. A lot of times I find myself on single targets just because it's a very weak single target build. I have to run away a lot, so I don't like getting stuck in an animation of 3 swings with the slow attack speed because you can get killed before the animation can even finish its animation. Let's just put this back in there, that back in there. We'll look at the passive tree real quickly. So first off, I went through and got just these 3. The Frostwalker, the Lightning Walker, and the Firewalker. They just give good resistances as well as cold elemental damages. I went up and got all the damage of the fires, all the lightnings, and all the colds. The other sides of the trees are mostly related to the shock effects or the ailments that are for each of the elements that do damage. And yeah, same with the cold ones. Here is Elemental Overload. That's the very important one. No crit multiplier, but we're using the Onslaught on the axe for crits, which gives you increased damage as well as increased attack speed, and that's it. Increased attack speed, increased damage. Am I missing something? Onslaught. Attack speed. Well, cast speed. Okay, but we're not really using cast speed. So that's important. Spend a lot of our time coming over this way to get Celestial Punishment as well as the Holy Dominion and Divine Fervor. So these are all increase elemental damage as well as elemental penetration and status effects. So the Freeze, Shock, and Ignite. Up through the Armor and Energy Shield because we have the Resolute Technique. We have the Unwavering Stance from the Calm's Boots. So you can't evade any attacks, but you can't be stunned. So anything evasion rating is just not going to do anything beneficial for you. And this one increases the amount of elemental ailments as well as hits. This one is the increased damage with hits against frozen, shocked, or ignited. So we pretty much have very high chances to do ailments. Let's see what they are. Fire Pen, 30%. Where is they? Oh, we're not on Wild Strike. Aha. Why can I not find it? Chance to freeze. So it's 30% chance to freeze, shock, and ignite. So, and again, that's pretty much all the time with that. Take this all the way down. Blunt Instruments is great here. I got that because of the increased armor as well as increased damage with maces. That's kind of an offense and defensive. Come all the way down through Born to Fight to the Warrior's Blood. These are all just life nodes with attack speed, life regen. All res is really nice because, again, you're bumping up that fire res to give you more armor in the grand scheme of things. I'm thinking about my next passes are going to come up through this life and elemental resistances, a little more life, a little more fire res, and a little more all res to just, again, buff up the armor. And that could take me into these mace damages if I decided to go up here as I get into the next level. Went down into the life wheel here by the Scion, one of my favorite places to go. Again, increased global fizz. It all converts into elemental damage from Wild Strike. The increased attack speed from Berserking in this little section here is nice because, again, I don't like getting stuck in an animation when I'm trying to swing and getting killed because I can't run away. The Ascendancy. The Ascendancy order I went through, I first went to Pendulum of Destruction. Gives you increased elemental damage and increased area of effect, which is pretty good. They alternate every other 5 seconds. The increased area of effect kind of works pretty well for the effect of Wild Strike, which I'll show you in a couple minutes when we do a little test of it. And then this is where you get the triple herald. So you get penetrating cold, fire, and lightning with each of the heralds affecting you, decreases the mana reservation, and increase the effect. So you basically have more damage, more penetration, lowers the resistance of it down to 19% each, which puts you at 57%. Still leaves you enough to put another... I put Purity of Fire, again, just to buff up that fire res as much as I can to get bonus armor. Secondly, I decided to go through Paragon of Calamity. Gives you a little bit of elemental leech, not really too noticeable, but a little bit more is a little bit more. This is where you get the damage reduction and damage increase from taking elemental damage. So for each element you've been hit damage of recently, 40% increased damage of that element. We're doing all the elements pretty much, so getting hit by any kind of element, it just increases your damage, and you also take 8% reduced damage of that element, as well as cannot take reflected elemental damage. So any elemental reflect map is negated. I thought that was going to be really nice. I didn't think about the fact that Lore Weave has added physical on it. Other than that, all the physical that was on this build got converted over, so you'd be immune to physical reflect just because you wouldn't have any, but I overlooked the fact that you add physical damage from the Lore Weave, so physical reflect maps can still kind of mess you up a little bit, but it's not too crazy. Finally, when I get my last Ascendancy, whenever that comes, I think I'm going to go Shaper of Desolation. It's just going to give you the confluxes, which basically just guaranteed chilling, shocking, igniting, or all three. So you'll always have a status ailment, which helps benefit with the node over here to increase damage against enemies that have an ailment on it. This basically guarantees you'll always have an ailment. So you could probably drop Elemental Proliferation if you wanted to, because you would always be doing that, but I like the freeze chance on there, because that activates the shattering effect of Herald of Ice, as well as the overkill of Herald of Ash and the Lightning Storm from Herald of Thunder. Very, very fun to me to play. I guess you could possibly not take these two and come up to the Beacon of Ruin, but you're already killing and spreading the ailments anyway pretty rapidly and pretty large scale, so it's not really something important. So that's why I decided to go this way, and the golems we don't actually use because we just run out of mana. So that's pretty much the whole build for me right now. Pretty much prioritizing life, attack speed, and armor, and resistances and elemental damages up here. That is my Elementalist. Here's the stats again, and I will open up a fresh map and just give a quick show. I really love the satisfaction of hitting a pack of enemies, and when it does crit and they freeze and it just shatters across the whole screen, that's one of my favorite things to see. So let's see if I can go showcase that real fast before we end up closing out this build showcase. Nothing on there really matters. Elemental Equilibrium, sometimes they can the maps can roll with Elemental Equilibrium, and since you're doing all three damage types, you basically have given the enemy the way Elemental Equilibrium works. When you hit with an element, it increases the enemy's damage resistance of that element and decreases the other elements. But since Herald of Ash, Ice, and Thunder all add those damage types, you increase their elemental resistance to everything. So it kind of makes it a little tough to do, but not really too noticeable if you are high enough level, or just don't pay attention to that kind of thing. Here we go. We'll just jump into a burial chambers. Ugh. And see if we can get a couple cool shatters going off. Yeah, there we go. So that's not really too big of a pack size. You can see I have a couple power charges. Yeah, that's so cool. I love seeing it just shatter an entire mob. This, yeah, like I said, pretty good elemental damage. You see my life bar kind of dips down a little bit, but with the Thief's Torment, 50 life on hit for every enemy hit, you just come right back up so fast. Let's grab that Marshes. I want to see a nice juicy pack and really showcase the explosion. Let's see here. Turn that off. Turn the loops off. Not quite what I wanted to see, but you can see again. The damage is there. Move through a little. Yeah, I just love that when you get one swing and the entire mob just blows up with all three elements. So that is going to be my build showcase on my Elementalist for doing Triple Herald with Wild Strike. The links below will be for my Twitch channel. I'm trying to upload a couple more YouTube videos. I've been very lax on that, but if you'd like to actually see more stuff, I try to stream on Twitch at least 4 times a week. That way I can try and catch people more often. So if you enjoyed the video, throw a like, throw a follow, and hopefully I'll see you on my Twitch channel. Thank you very much.